Andrew, it's been like a month. I have to ask you about Lamar Jackson. I don't think you've been on in a month. So it seems like following you on Twitter that you, I don't know if support is the right word, but you kind of like that Lamar Jackson's playing this year out and that he's going for the fully guaranteed contract. I wanted you to explain why.
Yeah, Ross, thanks. And yeah, I've talked about this a lot, and I guess we haven't talked about it. It's all the elephant in the room that happened in March. Deshaun Watson signs this incredible contract. It's still the best, and maybe will be the best for a long time, contract in NFL history, with the security of it. 5 years fully guaranteed. It's like a baseball or basketball contract, not like a football contract. No one's gotten this. Kirk Cousins got 3 years, but that fourth and fifth year is really a bridge too far for all these teams. And we've seen it. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Derek Carr have done deals since Watson, and they're in the traditional NFL format, 2 or 3, part of 3 years guaranteed, and then we'll see, right? And people say, well, they'll never cut a quarterback. Well, there are people wanting to cut Russell Wilson this year, let alone in 5 years. So that has been done by agents. Now, the guy without an agent, Lamar Jackson, has said, I think, to the Baltimore Ravens, no, I'm not doing one of those deals. I'm not doing one of those traditional 2-3 guaranteed, 4 or 5 years unguaranteed. Team has all the options. Team has all the leverage. I want Watson. And the team balked. We had a sign of this back when Steve Bisciotti talked about this deal back in the owners' meetings, end of March. And here we are. The guy without an agent is being more, I guess, strong in his negotiation than the guys with an agent. But here's the problem for Lamar. You and I know this. You've seen me on Twitter. He can't really bet on himself because we got the franchise tag. How do you bet on yourself if you can't be a free agent? So here's the ultimate irony, Ross. The best future bet for Lamar is actually to sort of not play well and get hurt. I hate to say this because that's the only way possible, and maybe even not, the Ravens don't put the tag on him in 2023. And if he goes to market even after a bad year, even after an injury, he'll make a lot more than what he's making in the franchise tag.
So here's what I don't understand, and I've been like literally waiting to get you on to discuss this. They offered him a 5-year extension for over $250 million, $133 million guaranteed at signing, reportedly. Okay. So we assume $133 million guaranteed at signing. That's probably what, the first 3 years? First 3 years of because if it's a 5-year extension, so it's this year and 5 more. So basically 6 years. So the first 3 years. So he gets 3 years guaranteed. The reason why you want a fully guaranteed deal is because the concern is they can cut you at any point after the fully guaranteed money. But Andrew, if they cut him after 3 years, then he's a free agent. That's what he wants anyway. Like I guess I don't understand the downside of it. You either get your $50 million a year, whatever the number, the math turns out to be, or you get your $133 million for 3 years, and then they cut you, and then you're a free agent, which is what you want in the first place. As it stands right now, he's basically going to do a 1 year at a time guarantee. This year, next year, franchise tag. The year after that, franchise tag. Why not get all 3 of those years guaranteed right now? And if they cut you at the end of the 3rd year, the 4th year, whatever year, then you're a free agent, which is the whole thing you're hoping to gain in 2 more years, 3 years anyway.
Okay, it's a good question. And I think you answered it with your last comment there, because he wants to get to free agency. It's the holy grail for NFL players. And you don't want to rely on being cut to get to free agency. I understand what you're saying. He makes 133, and then, oh my God, if they cut him, well, then he makes another big contract. Well, the whole issue for teams, and I know did this for 10 years, is contract control. You want years, especially non-guaranteed years, because then you have control. Maybe you don't want to cut him. Maybe you want to lower his salary. Look what the 49ers did to Garoppolo. I know he was turning into a backup, but now they've got Garoppolo for like $7, $8, $9 million as their starting quarterback. So this is what teams want. They want years. They want control. Russell Wilson's under contract 7 years. You think they're going to maybe not cut him, but they're going to go to him at some point and say, yeah, we can't live with this anymore. So this is why Lamar Jackson, if I was representing Lamar Jackson, I would have said, hey, Ravens, we accept $133 million, 3 years. Stop it there. Just stop it there. Because now there's precedent for 3 years guaranteed with Kirk Cousins at a much lower number. So they can live with that, and they don't go to Watson. Now, I wonder if A, that was asked, and B, the Ravens would do that. But I would do exactly what you're saying without the extra years. Just give me the 133. Let's call it a day. I'll see you in 3 years.
So the difference is then in my mind is, does he want to be a free agent so he can pick his team, or is it just a money thing? Is he happy in Baltimore? And because in my mind, if it's just a money thing, then I think he would have been better off signing the contract extension offer. If it's he really wants to maybe go to another team or live somewhere else, then that's a different scenario. Then that's a different thing. But if we're just talking finances, I think the $133 million is more than he gets the next 3 years working off the franchise tag, and he has to take those years one at a time, whereas he would get it fully guaranteed those 3 years. Then after that, if they cut him or whatever, he's a free agent anyway.
Well, why do you think, this is the argument I tell people all the time, if it doesn't matter, why do you think teams are so against these kind of contracts? You know, I hear people say, well, they're not going to cut a quarterback. What's the big deal? Well, if that was not a big deal, teams would do it. Teams don't want to do this. So I think what you're saying is a lot of players say, I'm happy where I am. I want to stay. Pat Mahomes, I'll sign a 12-year deal. I love it here. It's up to the agent, which is ironic here because he doesn't have an agent, to say, hey, we have to look out for your long-term future. The team doesn't care about you long-term. They say they do now, but who knows in 5 years? So I just think you and I are kind of saying the same thing. He wants the money, but teams want the control. And why shouldn't he ask for control? Listen, if Deshaun Watson never happened, I get it. He's got to take that deal. He's got to take that deal. But Deshaun Watson happened. And here's the big picture, Ross, before we leave this. Lamar Jackson's the key. Whether Deshaun Watson goes into the history books as this outlier contract, and NFL players, even the superstars, go back to this couple years guaranteed, 4 or 5 years non-guaranteed, or they go to stronger contracts. If Lamar falls back into the Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray camp, I mean, how's it going to happen? Is Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert? I mean, who's going to be someone that fights against owners screaming outlier with Deshaun Watson? I'm an expert on this field. We're at an inflection point. Is it going to be Deshaun Watson's just this 2022 outlier that never happens again? Or are we going to follow it up as precedent? That's the question.